Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Mbeki Ndlela. I work as a technical consultant here at the CCS offices in Centurion, a city in the Gauteng province of South Africa. It is my pleasure to present this webinar to you. Today, we'll be looking at some of the various useful functionalities in Candy that may help speed up the pricing process and eliminate unnecessary repetitions. Some of you may recognize these as shortcuts and macro key functions from the Candy's Did You Know feature, which is one of our monthly upskill series that is offered to our clients worldwide. We have then collated these from their usual PDF format and compiled them into a video, which is the webinar being presented to you today. Due to the large number of people logged into this webinar, we will not be able to answer any questions. However, you are more than welcome to submit your questions during the session by the use of the provided functionality on the screen. At the end of the webinar, we will revisit these questions individually and send the answers to everybody that registered for this webinar via email. Please note that the webinar will be recorded and you will receive a link to download it. It is also worth noting that there's a webinar once a month on various Candy topics, and even if you are unable to attend the webinar at the given time frame, please do register for the webinar, as this will entitle you to receive a recorded copy of that webinar. We will now get started with our webinar. In this webinar, we'll be looking at the following topics. The first topic for this webinar will be useful features found in a worksheet, where we'll be discussing heading structures inside a worksheet, how to create heading structures inside a worksheet, how to add color to worksheet information for better readability. We'll also look at variable value displayed in tips format. We'll look at inserting global variables from a list, and we'll also look at various ways to speed up worksheet pricing. Our second topic will focus on recoding in Candy. We'll have a look at how to do a bit of housekeeping in Candy and see how this can be a very helpful tool, especially when a master job has been used during the pricing process, or where two jobs were merged and there are instances of codes that are similar yet with different information like rates. Our third topic, and the last one for this webinar, that is where we'll be looking at external documents and hyperlinks, how we can bring in live documents into Candy, or how we can hyperlink such documents. So firstly, let us explain what a worksheet entails. Worksheets can be likened to cells in Candy that are neatly enveloped behind each bill item. These cells can allow a user to price a job using the first principle pricing method, where all the pricing information like resources, rates, and various calculations can be recorded in order to arrive at a net rate of each bill item in the BOQ. There are almost countless functionalities or functions that can be performed inside a worksheet when pricing a job, so it is no surprise really that a worksheet can end up looking extremely complicated to a person who was not involved during the initial pricing process. In an attempt to make our work look more organized and easy to navigate, we will look at some features that can be used in bringing about structure and better readability to our work. We will first look at features such as heading structures inside a worksheet. We'll have a look at worksheet color switches, variable value tips, inserting global variables from the list while working in a worksheet, and we'll have a look at other different ways to speed up the worksheet pricing. Let us start with a fairly easy feature, which is the creation and the role of a heading structure inside a Candy worksheet. And to do that, I'll open a Candy demonstration job that was priced using worksheets. I will then double click at the net rate column of a bill item, and a worksheet will appear. Now, we can see all the information applicable to that particular bill item. As we can see, this worksheet does not contain a lot of information, so it is easy to read and understand the information that is contained in here. There are no complex calculations, and it is just a few lines with only 3 resources and an applied factor. So I will now close this worksheet and open a different one and see what we can see there. So what we see in this worksheet is that firstly, there's too much information. There are a lot of different kinds of calculations. A number of resources have been used, and to make matters worse, there is additional information just about everywhere. For a person opening this worksheet for the very first time, there's no doubt that it would be very difficult to navigate through the information and locate the section that is sought after. Now I will close this worksheet and open another worksheet that contains the same information. Only now we want to see the difference that comes with structuring our work just by introducing headings into a worksheet. As we can see, we have introduced some headings. It would be now easy for a user to scroll to the section of information they need, which helps save time because the information readability has somewhat improved. And the nice thing about these headings is that now they're not very difficult to create. And I'll just create one just to illustrate. So I have my local variables here. I just want to give them a heading. Headings, you can see on my screen that my cursor is up against the left margin of my worksheet document. But I'm just going to create one space by striking my space bar, and then I'll put my required number for my heading. I'll close that off with a bracket, and I'll just give my heading a description. These are my variables, and these are local variables. And as you can see, it is easy and it is as simple as that to create these headings. But while we're still here in this worksheet, I would like for us to look at another nice feature that helps to further improve the readability, as it adds color to some of the information within the worksheet. That feature is called Worksheet Color Switch. You do not have to type in anything. It is just as easy as clicking on the View menu here on your Documents menu, and then choosing that option there, View in Color. You might not see any difference for now, and you might need to store or close the worksheet and reopen it again to see the difference. Now, with this functionality, it becomes easy to differentiate between items such as comments, variables, formulas, as well as formula descriptions and other things that you may have with the worksheet. And the other nice thing about this is that now this is all the jobs that's been created in Candy. There's also another nice feature which adds flexibility while working in a worksheet, and it's called variable value tips. As we know, some users may prefer to capture their global variables on a worksheet in order to easily view their values at all times while busy pricing. But this variable value in tips feature can be very helpful in instances where capturing global variables on a worksheet is not a preference for a user, or where local variables are defined at the top of the worksheet, as you can see in my worksheet here. And a worksheet is so long that when working at the bottom of it, you are required to scroll up each time in order to see your local variables values. Therefore, activating the switch enables the user to see the values of those variables in a tooltip format as soon as the cursor hovers above the particular variable. To activate this function, I will again click on View on the Documents menu. I will choose the Show Variables and Tips. And then if I open it again, you'll see that it has a tick, which confirms that this has been now chosen. And the difference with this now is that as soon as I hover my mouse above any variable or any calculation, really, I can see that calculation's value. So I do not need to scroll up all the way to see what those values are. I may be working at the bottom of this worksheet right here, and then I can just quickly see by placing my cursor above my variables exactly what they contain in terms of value. Another feature that is also very handy when pricing is the inserting of global variables from the list. As we all know, global variables are defined under the definitions and settings hammer. Just quickly open it. And I have created some, I've defined some global variables for this job. Now, each time I need to use any of these, I'll be forced to go to the definition settings to open it, of which is not an ideal way of working, really. But we have the right-click option in Candy, which makes it possible and easy to access a list of global variables while you are working on a worksheet. I'll just quickly use one to demonstrate. For instance, I want to finish off this calculation here against the applied factor. So I do not need to open up my global variables in order to do that. If I need to add a global variable, I would just put in that mathematical sign and right click next to the calculation that I want to extend and insert a global variable, and just like that, my global variable will be pulled into the worksheet. I'll just store this worksheet for now and open another one to illustrate with other examples. Now, sometimes we do not always have enough amounts of time when pricing a job. So it is important that we have a look at other functionalities that can, in a way, help save time by allowing us that flexibility to access some of the pricing tools that are there in Candy. For instance, when pricing a bill item using a worksheet, we need resources, and we always access our resources from our resource list. The traditional way of pricing an item would be for me to size my worksheet to the bottom half because of the screen that I have here, and I would also now size my resource list to the top half. And then as you can see here, I have some resources. So for me to pull in resources in order to price this bill item, I would have to go to my resource list and look for those resources and drag and drop. I'll just drag any just to illustrate. For instance, I have this one here. That is the traditional way of pricing an item. But you will notice that, which means that all my resources have resource codes, and those resource codes are categorized by their types. I have materials here, and then there's a list of the resources beneath it. This is something I can obviously use now to my advantage. For instance, I know that all my materials start with a 5, as you can see below here. And my labor resources start with a number 2, as you can see with this resource here. I can then easily use that information. Okay, for instance, I can just type in my worksheet. Just delete this one quickly. I can just type in the first character of that resource against the left margin of this worksheet. So we are looking for 515 and all the other numbers after it. So I can just say 5 and use the control up and down key arrows on my keyboard to bring across the resource of my choice. I can just use it to bring in my labor resource as well. So this makes it easier for me to access my resource list without even opening it. But by just knowing that my resources have a structure and they have resource codes, I can use that to my advantage to price bill items in a fairly quicker manner. I'll just open up a slide to show you which keys I've used on my keyboard to activate that functionality or to make use of that functionality. As you can see, the control up and down key arrows that will help you navigate in your resource list and bring across the resources that you would want to use to price a bill item. And for people who prefer using a keyboard instead of a mouse most of the time, you might also find the Alt key functionality to be very useful. So how does it work? I will just show the slide first, and then I'll go back to Candy to demonstrate. By just clicking on the Alt key and the right arrow key, you are able to summon up a resource list. And then you can navigate your resource list by holding down the Alt key and using the up and the down arrow key. You are also able to do that for your master resource list as well. Let us quickly go back to Candy just to demonstrate. I will store this worksheet. Just make it bigger. So now I am inside my worksheet and I want to access my resource list without going to my clicking on the R to access it. So while I have my worksheet open up this side, size it to bottom half so that I can see everything. And then I'll click and hold down the Alt key on my keyboard and use the right arrow key. As you can see, it opens up my resource list. I can then, while having that Alt key held down, I can use the up and down arrow on my keyboard to navigate for the resource that I would be looking for in order to price this bill item. And as soon as I get it, I can just strike enter, and that resource would be pulled across. I can do it for my labor resources as well. I have an excavation gang here, but I'm looking for the placing gang. It is as simple as that to bring across these resources into the worksheet from the resource list without using the mouse. The other nice thing is that now you can interchangeably access your jobs resource list as well as your master's resource list by the usage of the Alt key. So I'll just click and hold down the Alt key, use my left arrow, it accesses my jobs resource list, and then if I'm using, sorry, that is my right arrow, and then if I'm using my left arrow, you can see that it opens up my master resource list. So I can also navigate my master resource list while I have my Alt key held down and using the up and down arrow keys functionality. So I can use these resource lists interchangeably. So now these functionalities help a lot as your worksheet is constantly in view, and it can improve the pace in which with which one prices their bill items. Next, I would like for us to look at using macro keys. I'll just close everything that is on my screen. There are other details or elements which form part of our calculations that we use repeatedly when pricing in a worksheet. A good example of that would be the application of waste percentage on our material resources. I'll just quickly open up a worksheet to illustrate. As you can see on my worksheet here, I may need to use this pricing element several times on a worksheet, as it can be seen on all these different sections of my worksheet. I may also need to use the very same pricing element on different worksheets, but nonetheless, manually typing it in may prove to be a tiresome exercise that wastes time. I will therefore illustrate and show you how to create a macro key that will be substitute to typing in percentage waste all the time. So I'll just remove the syntax. See that it's complaining here a bit. Just remove this. And then I'll substitute this using a macro key. To create a macro key, you would have to go to your configure preferences, and then you'd go to number 10, and then this is where you can define your macro keys. But I'll also show you a shortcut of doing the very same thing while you are in the worksheet. So for instance, we know that we want to create one for waste. By holding down my control key on my keyboard and clicking on a number, I'm just going to use a number 1. You can create 1 up to 9. The system will give me an option to record a macro key. And I will say, yes, I want to record a macro key, and I will start recording one. So one thing that we need to be careful of is that now whatever keys that you're going to be striking on your keyboard will form part of that recording. So you just need to be careful of that. So now I will just create one for waste. Let me just start with that again. Delete this one as I've just made a slight mistake on it. And I will go back to my control and hold down my control key and strike my number 1. I want to start recording. That would be my waste percentage. Once I'm done, I can click this button to stop recording, and I can click on OK. And then as you can see, I have my macro key defined. So I can put in the percentage of waste that I want to apply to this resource. Let's say 8%. And then now the difference is that now I do not have to type in waste percentage all the time. I can just say plus. If I'm adding waste percentage here, it's going to be 15%. And I'll just summon my macro key by clicking on Control and 1. And I can do the same for this item at the bottom here. There are many more features that can be used within a worksheet to improve the speed of pricing, but because of time, we cannot explore all of them. But should you find yourself in a situation where any pricing related exercise becomes time consuming or repetitive, please feel free to contact the CCS support line in your region to at least find out if there isn't any easier approach to it. For now, I would like for us to move on to our following topic on the agenda. Recoding in Candy. What is recoding? Candy recoding is a functionality that is used to manage changes in the Candy coding structure. When pricing, the information can be brought in the new job from different documents, such as your master POQ or your master resource list, master price code list, and so forth. This is the information that may, in most cases, clash with the information that already exists on the current job. Now, the recoding feature can be used to amend and accommodate any new information linked to existing codes in Candy. Where does recoding apply? The recoding tools are standard across the various codes to which the recoding functionality applies. You will find this functionality on price codes in Candy, resource codes, cost codes, group codes, global variables, build codes, and task codes. For our exercise today, we will only be looking at just one code. We will be recoding a resource code. Because of time constraints, we will not be able to cover the recoding of all the codes found in Candy. But the same principle applies for the rest of them. So to get started, I'll quickly go back to Candy, to our demonstration job. I'll just store this worksheet. So where to find it? I'll go to housekeeping. I would choose recoding, and as you can see, there's a list of all the codes that you can enter in Candy. If you have brought in a job or information from your master job, and you find that the cost codes or the group codes do not carry the same information as your current job that you're pricing, this is where you would go to recode those codes. So in our exercise, we will try and recode a cost code, or a resource code rather. So before we even do that, I'll just quickly show you what problems there are in my job that I would like to fix. So if I open my resource list, and I'll filter for one code that I noticed earlier on that it might give us problems. I will not hide any rejects. And then you'll see all the rejects grayed out, and the code that I'm looking for, it's this one here at the bottom. So now the problem with this code is that now it doesn't follow the work breakdown structure, or how I've structured my resources here. As you can see that it came through and then it fell under this category of materials, whereas I would love for it to be on my formwork materials. So to simply delete this code, it wouldn't work for me, because if I'm just going to quickly cross-reference and see if I haven't, you can quickly see that I have used it in some of my pricing. So I wouldn't want to remove it and retype it in here. That is where the recoding functionality comes in. We'll just need to go and recode this code, as I'll go to housekeeping, as I said earlier on. And then I'll choose the option to recode. And what I want to recode would be my resource code. The first thing that I need to do here, it is to clean up all the codes that are here. Just clear the file. I will import all the codes that I want to fix or amend. So to do that, I will go to Tools again. I will choose Import Codes from this job, and then I will confirm. So all these codes now I can amend and change and recode as necessary. But in our illustration, or in our example here, we know that this in particular, it is the code that we would want to fix and move it into the right section. So I'll just quickly go and look for it. Under the new code column, in line with the resource that I want to edit or fix, I will type in my new code. Because I wanted to follow or to be part of this one, I'll just look at the numbering of my coding structure here, and then I will create a new code that will move this code into that section. So because I wanted to follow my BC clamps number 1, I'll just type in a code that follows that one, which would be 42113. Once I'm happy with my code, I will check if the recoding was successful, and to do that, I'll click on Tools button. And then I have an option there to check if the codes are all right. And if the check has passed, I can click on OK. So now that everything went well, I will go back to Tools again and convert the job. And then I'll confirm that by clicking on the yes. And then I'll go back to my resources to see if everything went well there. I'm looking for my B and C clamps. And as you can see, that code, without deleting it, it was moved up to its rightful place. Now, this functionality can be used to convert more than just one code at a time, saving a user a lot of time and trouble as far as recoding of any codes in Candy is concerned. But because of time, we'll leave it at that for now and move on to our last topic of this webinar. Let us have a look at how Candy's external documents and hyperlinks functionalities can assist the user to always have the relevant information and answers with regards to their work. With the external documents functionality, Candy has a capacity to import and store actual documents such as Word, Excel, and PDF, and other documents. These documents can be imported and stored in Candy as if they were part of Candy files. The user is able to back up and recover those attached documents together with the Candy job. But if you are concerned about the size of the Candy backup due to the additional external documents, yet still want to have that easy access to those documents at a click of a button, when, for instance, you need to highlight a certain detail about a bill item or a quote that's relevant to a resource or a rate, then hyperlinks can be used to bridge that gap. We will discuss hyperlinks later on. But for now, let us first have a look at how the external documents can be used in Candy. This functionality ensures that the documents that are relevant to the job are kept in one place, which helps avoid important information being stored all over the place in your computer. This feature can be accessed either from the shortcut button as you can see here. That is if it has been activated under the system preference. If you don't see it here, that means you haven't activated that functionality under the system preferences. So you will see that I have it checked on the list of my tool buttons here. The other place where you can actually access these documents are under my documents. As you can see, there are external documents manager here. So while I'm in the estimating facility or in the planning facility, there's external documents for planning as well as for valuations. There are external documents manager there for valuations. So to illustrate how this functionality works, let us try to import a document in our estimating tab, and then I'll go to the external documents functionality. I'll click on it, and then you see here at the bottom I have options to import where it says new. I can actually create new headings and new subheadings. So I will just create one heading. I'll call it contract specifications. I can also choose to create a subheading. Can call it standard specifications. I can now choose to import that relevant document that I would want to store in here. How do I do it? I will just go and click on import. And then this is just a warning to let us know that by importing these documents, our Candy file may be huge. As you can see there, it says it will significantly increase the time and size of your backup files. So you should consider creating external hyperlinks, but we will have a look at that later on. So I will quickly go and navigate to my documents, and I have my Candy external documents saved here, and I have my specifications that I would want to bring into my documents. But now, as I mentioned earlier, some may be concerned about the size of the Candy backup file due to the imported external file, as you can import a lot of files in here. This is where the hyperlink can be used as an alternative to just importing the live documents. What are hyperlinks? Let us just quickly have a look on the slide here. Instead of importing the actual drawing into Candy, or a specification or a picture and so on, a hyperlink can actually be created because it is actually a link which points to that particular item, no matter how remote it may be. For instance, it could be a drawing on your desktop or a detailed supplier specification on their website, even a multi-page job contract specification on Dropbox. So clicking on a hyperlink after the link has been created will access that item no matter where it is stored. So in Candy, hyperlinks may be attached to bill items, price codes, resources, variation orders, and subcontractor adjudicator. But how does it work? To illustrate, I will go back to Candy, and in our example, we will create a hyperlink for external documents first instead of pulling in a document, and we'll also create an example that will illustrate how we can attach a hyperlink against a bill item as well as a resource if you have a quote that you would want to attach to that particular resource. So at first, what we did was just to bring in a document. We didn't hyperlink it, and if you double click on that document, you would be able to see the content of that document. But another way of doing that would actually to create a hyperlink, and that is what we will do now. I'll just create a heading for my hyperlink after I've just created one new external hyperlink, and then I'll give it a description. I'll just call it tender spec. Now I will browse to see where I can get my specification. As soon as I get it, and click on OK. So the difference between the two is that now here we've imported the entire document, but now here this is a hyperlink. So this would be relatively very small in comparison to the actual document brought in Candy. But this form of hyperlink allows the user to access non-Candy files only from within the external documents manager, as you see here. These documents are only contained in this dedicated location. That is why now on our next example, we will try and illustrate a hyperlink that can be created for each bill item in Candy. I'll just close this. Now I would want to create a hyperlink for my vertical format to size of walls. Firstly, what I need to do is to customize my document and add a hyperlink column. Click on View, Add Remove Columns, and then bring in my hyper. I'll just move it up before build description. Click on OK. So my next step is to attach my hyperlink to a Candy bill item. So I will go to that particular bill item, and then I'll go to that bill item's hyperlinks column, and then I will right click alongside that bill item, and then I will add a hyperlink. I'll give my hyperlink a description. I'll just call it foundation for vertical formwork. I'll then select browse and then navigate to the document that I wish to add as a hyperlink. And then I'll open that document. And to complete the process, I'll green tick it and go back to my Candy document to see if the hyperlink was created successfully. And then as you can see, I have that paperclip icon there, which tells me that for this bill item, I have attached a hyperlink. So if I double click there, it opens up my hyperlinks. I could hyperlink more than just one item, more than just one documents to one bill item. I'll close this one. So that is how a hyperlink would be created for any bill item, really. I would also like to do a quick exercise to demonstrate how to create a hyperlink now for a resource this time. It follows the very same principle, really. So if you have a resource that you want to maybe have a document attached to, you would go to your resource list. So as you can see that what I need here would be my hyperlinks column. So I'll say view, add remove columns, and then I'm looking for my hyperlinks column 1.8, and then I can just leave it there. And there I have my hyperlinks column. So for instance, in my example here, I want to link a quote to just one resource, which is my tipper truck. So to do that, same principle, I would right click on the hyperlink column against that item and add an external hyperlink. And then I can just give it some description here and say it's a tipper or plant quote. Or I can rather say this was my supplier, plant supplier number 1. I will now browse to where I have saved my quote and open it. Here are my quotes. And then I will open it. As soon as that is linked to Candy, I'll green tick to confirm. And to check if the hyperlink was successful, I'll double click on the paperclip icon. And that should take me back to the hyperlink document where I can open the hyperlinked quote. This takes us to the end of our webinar for the month, and we would like to thank you for your time, and I trust that these functionalities will help add some flexibility to your day-to-day usage of Candy. Please remember to email your local CCS office if you want to know more about the topics that were discussed today. We will keep you informed of the next webinar. And remember, if you are unable to join on the selected time, then please still register and you will receive the recording, which you can then watch in your own time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Till the next webinar. Goodbye for now.